Hi there again, YouTube. Thanks for tuning in to the last part of my sneaker overview. In this final installment, we're going to go through some old school skate releases. We're in the closet of my old room here. This is where I keep a lot of the shoes that I wore back in the day, that I've kept in pretty good condition, but which obviously I don't wear anymore. They're just not in time with the they're not in step with the current trends of today's footwear. But still a really interesting journey through the skate shoe archives. If you're expecting to see rare unreleased Jordan or Nike releases, you're probably not going to get much in this video. This is more dedicated to the skate releases that have, I guess, shaped who I am as a skater, and help me to progress as a skater as well. A lot of these shoes, I can tell you where I was when I shredded them, and what tricks I was doing. So from the point of view of sentimentality, a lot of these releases are really important to me. So let's step over and have a look at the first pile. For those that know their skate shoe history, they would know that Osiris was one of the biggest skate brands from about 1998 to 2004. And I have a lot of old school Osiris releases here. The first one that you'd expect to see in any Osiris collection is obviously the D3. There's Dave Mayhew on the front of this box. This is the original D3 model, but it's a later colorway of that model. I had a pair of the original colorways, which I shredded basically to oblivion. But I replaced it with this pair, which I bought in 2002. Didn't really skate much in these. I just really liked the design at the time. As a lot of people know, they were hugely popular in that 2000 to 2002 period. Big lace loops, big tongues, air pockets in there as well. They were all hallmarks of the D3 release. This shoe was just so massive back in the day, that it's actually quite difficult to conceive now how people actually skated in them, but they did. And so it's a really good to have a pair of these shoes in such terrific condition. The original D3, of course, gave way to the D3 2001, and I did show a pair of the red and black colorways that I have in the premium closet. But this is another colorway I have of that 2001 D3 model. There's Dave on the cover of the box again, and inside it's the navy and the grey colorways. I've got one shoe that's in really top condition here. You can see the air bubble in there is pretty much in pristine condition, but the other one, it's kind of burst, so not as good. You can see the reflector on the side of these shoes, make it pop even more. I shredded these shoes a bit, as you can see, or at least I tried to. They didn't do a hell of a lot for my skating, I must confess. But I don't think they did a lot for anyone's skating really back in the day. I think most people just tried them because everyone else was wearing them at the time. But a really cool shoe, and one that defined Osiris's era of superiority in the skate shoe market. Moving on from the D3, we have a couple of lesser known Osiris releases from that 2000 to 2002 period. The first is called the Graph. This was a Chad Knight Pro model. There were two colorways of this shoe. The first one was a yellow and black, which was really slick. But this one was the next in queue. This was the red and grey colorway. A lot lighter than the D3, this shoe, but still a really bulky shoe. Reflector on the toe cap there and at the rear of the shoe, you can see, but big tongues in keeping with the times, and you can see that yeah. Now whilst I shredded them, you actually wouldn't know that I had shredded these shoes because they're just the soles are just so thick, but you can see through the bag there's some shoe glue on there indicating that yes, I did shred those shoes. So Chad Knight Pro model. The Graph from late 2001 there. Moving on, we have a Pro model from Osiris. This is also from 2001. There's the team of the time on the cover of the box there. This one's called the Dats. Now, this probably rivaled the D3 in terms of popularity in that 2001 year. It came out in a number of colorways. The colorway you're seeing here is the yellow, a silver and navy blue colorway. Again, a really bulky shoe, but one that I wore for shredding, believe it or not. You can't tell from the soles, but I also wore this for shredding as well. So big tongues, you can see the Osiris label sticking out from between the gap in the tongue there. Double inner liner there as well. And the air pockets of these are still in pretty good nick. So really glad to have these shoes in the collection. They represent a time where obviously skate shoe design was a hell of a lot more different than it is now. Maybe that time will come back again, but maybe not in my lifetime. But still great to have these shoes here as a memento of times past. Continuing on with those sizes, I have an original release of the Bronx here as well. Now this was originally released in about 2005, I think, from memory, but it only came out in two colorways. There was a white and navy version, and then there was this black and grey version, and it's just a really sick colorway. We tend to forget how cool these shoes were at the time because there's been so many colorways of them since, but a really cool shoe. I didn't actually shred in these. I just kept them for cash look, but a really cool high top for its time, and one that I've kept in pretty good nick, as you can tell. Moving on to the next pair, that's it for Osiris now. Moving into the next line here, we have some Globe releases. Now Globe were also massive in that 1998 to 2005 period. What I'm about to open here is a replica of the shoes that I actually learned to skate in. So I trashed my first pair of options, but I was so impressed with them that I really wanted to buy another pair just to stockpile. And what you see here is a dead stock pair of the options. Now these were huge from both skaters and non-skaters alike, back in 1997-98 period in particular. The version that you see here was a 1999 re-release. You can see that the air bubbles are just starting to frost up there, which means they're just starting to get a little bit old. But they're effectively dead stock condition, these. I bought them purely as a memento for the fact that I'd learned to skate in a pair of these options. In particular, the navy blue colorway that you see in front of you here. There are a lot of colorways of this shoe, but as I said, it was just massive for its time. Really important shoe to me, that one, purely because I learnt to skate in it. They backed those options up with another couple of popular releases, Globe, particularly the Focus, which was really popular in that 2004-2006 period. I have two colorways of that shoe. The first colorway here is a checkerboard version. Obviously, you can see the checkerboard design at the back there, which I decided I was also going to mimic with the way I've laced those shoes as well. Yeah, really cool shoe for its time. All black with a white sole, this one. The Focus was a really popular release down at the skate park in that 2005 period. The really influential design of the Focus, though, I think came with the Sleep With You When You're Dead colorway, which I'm just about to open now. It's in this cool little box here. And the thing about these shoes that I don't think anyone else was doing at the time was the photographic graphics on the back. Now, this has subsequently been used a lot by other companies, but as far as I'm aware, this is the first shoe that actually used photography on their graphic, as the graphic for their shoes. And you can see there's some dice, a pair of titties there as well. Yeah, fairly rebellious sort of graphic on there, in keeping with the whole point of skate shoes and skateboarding in general. I didn't actually skate in these. I just wore them for casual, actually. Yeah, really, I think a really influential shoe in terms of the use of that graphic on the heel. So the Sleep When You're Dead Globe Focus is what that one is. Moving on to the next lot of releases, we can see here a DC Command. This dates to 2006. Didn't wear these a hell of a lot. I bought them and I just wore them maybe 4 or 5 times, but they're in sick condition. I kind of wish DC would stick to making these, would go back to making some of these slick designs, but you can see the air bubbles in really tip-top condition there. Really cool shoe, this one. Very popular in that 2006-2007 period, and glad to have those in the collection. Underneath those, you can see just a standard Adidas Campus Volk mid. Moving around the corner here, we can see a Vans mid-school 77 LX release. This is from about 2010, so a bit later here. This is a re-release. You can see really popping red mid-top there. Really cool shoe. But underneath that is what I think is one of my favourite Vans releases. I skated these a hell of a lot back in my London days. For those that live in London, the Meanwhile Bowls. These shoes saw them a lot of the Meanwhile Bowls. But before I open the lid, let's just quickly take a look at the amplifier. Tony Trujillo, eh? Nothing sums him up better than an amplifier, and the box captures that perfectly. So these were the TNT releases. These date from around about 2003. As I said, wore them a hell of a lot for skating. When they started to show signs in the ollie pad area of wear, I kind of retired them. But a lot of skating Meanwhile Bowls in these. There were a number of different colorways of these shoes, but the red and the black one was just so sick. And you can see the checkerboard inner liners there as well. Really cool shoe for Tony Trujillo there. And I hope that someday Vans will re-release that model. I think it's just a sick, one of the best TNT releases that there was. Moving on to the next pile, there's a Radii Thrillers in there. This is all white. I haven't worn those for a while. They're kind of here collecting dust now. Then we've got a Spartan High DC. The air bubbles in those are pretty much all shot to pieces, but that's a turquoise colorway from about 2008. Above that we have an iPath Grasshopper. Shredded these a lot. This was the black and brown colorway of that shoe. Really cool for skating in. Very hardy shoe. Then above that we have a 205 Thug from Circa. I might just pull these out actually. These are got a bit of patent on the sole. Again, didn't skate these back in the day. These came out in around about 2007, but you can see a really cool dollar signs on there. I think this was a team model from memory when Circa was huge. But yeah, really cool gold and black colorway there. Really slick leather too. Then on the top here, we have another pair of shoes that's really important to me. This is an original release Vader. This is dating back to around about early 2007 from memory. They only did a few colorways of the original Vaders, and I happen to have one of them here, which I wore a hell of a lot, both for skating and not skating. It's the black and silver colorway. You can see the heel drag there of how much I wore these shoes, but just so dope with the silver leather lining and the super tag on the front of the tongue there. Just a dope shoe, and one that really has worn well. There's so many colorways of that shoe now that's kind of taken away from how really important the original series of colorway releases of that Vader were, but that's just a sick shoe. Continuing on in our skate shoe look through here, we can see a DVS Contra. This is going back to about 2005 as well. Again, similar to what we've seen before in terms of the wider design, thick soles, contrasting black and white colorways, and this one's got a really cool skull splatter on the heel. A DVS just really been relaunched in recent times, but this is really when DVS were quite a popular skate shoe, and I've skated in those quite a bit actually, even though again you can never tell from I just look after my shoes. Moving down this pile, we see an Audio Ruckus. This is from this is about 2007 from memory, one of the last shoes Audio put out before they went into hibernation. You can see this is a suede, purple, black, gold and baby blue colorway there. Really cool sneaker. I haven't worn that in a while though. And then last, I mentioned in one of the previous videos, the Custom Contage was a really important and popular sneaker release in Australia in that 2006 period. The Custom were owned by Billabong. I think they still might be. They're still putting out shoes, but this is by far and away their best shoe. Very, very popular, very light shoe, but the contrast of the white and the black makes this shoe really pop. And you can see the white sole there, which I've tried to keep clean and look after, but somewhat with mixed success. But a really cool shoe, the Contage. Very, very light. You can't even tell you're wearing these. They're that light. So kind of illustrating the changing trends in skate shoe design of the time, I suppose. They're starting to move away from the bulky, heavy designs to more lighter designs. But a very, very popular shoe. Moving on, what else do I have here? I have an original Dunk Low Splatter. This one's from around about 2004, 2005, I think, from memory. Really cool design on this shoe. I don't have a hell of a lot of Dunks, but this one really impressed me. The only downside being the leather on the sock line is coming away. So you put your foot in it and you end up with a sock full of leather shards, which is really disappointing actually for Nike. But nonetheless, a really cool shoe with an amazing upper. One of those iconic Dunk Low releases, I feel. We all have our regrets as sneaker collectors, and this is one of mine. What I have in this bag is an original pair of Jordan 13s, the white and the red colourway. Unfortunately, at the time I bought these, I didn't have a lot to skate. I got caught out and I started skating them, which is why you see the leather on the side there all torn away, disappointingly. The hologram's starting to go on that as well. But I keep these because really, for what they were at the time, to my way of thinking, this is one of the nicer Jordan shoes. And just to say you've still got an original pair of them kicking along means a lot. So whilst I regret skating them, I guess I just keep them in there for posterity more than anything else. So original Jordan 13s. We're almost through here, folks. Just a couple more pairs I'm going to pull out. These pairs have both been trashed, but I think it's important to show them again because of the sentimental reasons for collecting shoes in the first place. The pair, even though it's in a globe box, I've long since lost the original box of these, but for those that remember how big Eric Costin was at Ease when he was at Ease, Ease put out their Menic Marty video, which is probably their most iconic moment as a footwear manufacturer in the skate realm. These Costin 4 releases were quite amazing for the time. Very light. The airbags in there as well. Costin's obviously such an iconic skater of not just the 2000s but the 90s as well. His move from Ease effectively ended that brand's supremacy, but while he was there he put out some amazing designs. This pair has been shredded to death, as you can tell. It's also travelled across Europe about 3 times, but I just keep them because they're just such an iconic shoe, and they remind me how much I did skate when I was tramping through the rough streets of Europe. The last pair I'm going to show to end the tour and end this series is the first pair of Jordans that I ever bought, saved up and bought with my own money when I was in my mid-high school days. These shoes are now well and truly written off. I'm just going to try and lift the lid there. There we go. They're written off, but I keep them in the plastic because of what they mean to me. And of course, we can all get lost sometimes with new releases, the latest colorways and what have you. But the whole point of sneaker collecting for mine is to appreciate what you have and how hard you had to work to get what you had at the time. And these shoes are well and truly gone now. They came out, I bought these in 1991. You can see they're all split there now. But just pulling these out to me brings back memories. It makes the whole thing worthwhile for me. I wore these to death through my latter years of high school, but I looked after them so well, which is why you're still seeing them in front of you now. They'll stay here forever, these shoes. I don't care if they disintegrate in the box. They mean so much to me in terms of the person I was at the time, and they really set the benchmark for me in terms of my sneaker interest that continues to this day. So, original pair of Jordan 5s there. I think that's an appropriate place to end this tour. I hope that those of you who have sat through have taken something different from it. It's not just about the latest releases, it's also about the sentimental reasons that you collect shoes as well. So I hope everyone out there's enjoyed this 4-part series of my skate shoe collection. I'm going to end it there. There may be some further videos where I might pull out some designs that mean a lot to me. But for now, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care all.